Right, this is a little different.
I'll give it a go nonetheless, so let's have a little look what we can do.
I might just talk to you.
I'm in a kind of gaming mindset right now. So, do you hear some people say that they feel like they're wasting their time when they play a game? And that in order to get space ready, you've got to align the planet towards becoming space ready, yes? So if we take a look at games, and how can these be upscaled to become beneficial to society? Well, we have water, we have ice here, don't we? And do we have any unexplored land? So like deep in caves, yeah?
Deep in caves. Some big forest somewhere in Russia and Canada.
Which again, if we're looking at forests, that would be cold climate, wouldn't it? So we've also got desert, but desert could be more utilized for growing food, I would say.
Yeah.
So when we've got all of these different things of water, ice, being Antarctica, we have caves. We've also got caves on the moon. We've got J moons as well, which have a lot of ice, and again limited sunlight, don't they? But again, if it was made in nuclear power, nuclear power, when it's big, it becomes very dangerous. When you make it too big, so let's say if we took all of the world's nuclear capabilities and made a massive power station that powered the world, if anything went wrong with that, it could devastate a large area. So some things should be made small in order to keep protection, to protect the earth, I guess, is the best way to say that. And animals. So we've got to take a look at games, and then we've got to look at Earth to then get to space. And when going to space, we've got to get there in bite-sized steps. Games, very popular. People like to play them. People also like to farm. So they play online with games. They play farm, which is basically food. There is water activities, yes. What about exploring? So you've also got like Mojang and it's Minecraft, yeah? And Minecraft is very popular. It is quite popular. Now, how could we convert that? We could convert it into a real-life game called Mooncraft. Or we could say Moonscraft, which is then going to all of the moons. So we could say Europa, with all of its fractures in it. And then we've got our own moon. Or is it like the little dude that looks like he's standing on a chest? Not the man on the moon, but the man standing with this, it sort of looks like this, doesn't it? Looks like you got some sort of dog face creature over there. It really does when you have a look at it. Pareidolia is mental on that thing.
It is.
So, and we've also got ice caps that are not explored. Now the problem is with ice caps, the reason why they're not explored is because there's nothing there. So if you were to start an expedition into the ice, it will always fail. And the reason for it is because there's no food, nothing to burn to keep you warm, and even if you were to take supplies, you could only get halfway. Because then after that, you have to head back. But if you included nuclear power, and then we've got robot. A nuclear powered robot that was capable of coping with ice, mounted with a camera, you could get a lot of data back from the ice caps. What's more, you could make this into a game where if you had 1,000 robots, for argument's sake, 1,000 robots that people could play to control the robots on Earth to explore the ice caps. What you wouldn't do is you wouldn't be creating a carbon footprint. You wouldn't be damaging the land because you wouldn't be leaving any rubbish behind. You wouldn't need to take any fuel or anything else with you because the robot would automatically be able to traverse that. And if you had thousands, let's just say 1,000 just on the ice caps alone, that are capable of doing more than many different things, even if they were to burrow a small hole into some of that, it's not going to be devastating. And then people could play a game of exploring. And again, if you had 1,000 robots, that even if it was a game, it would be called Move Human Habitations over there. So yes, humans couldn't go there without food and warmth. That's very important to travel to somewhere quite tricky to traverse if there's nothing to burn, there isn't anything in the wake of food, and even if there is any food, it's in limited supply. So polar bears and different stuff like that is, you know, if you eat a few of those, then it's how they're going to taste. Do you have the heart to do it? Is it toxic? Can you cope with that? Lack of light, that's another thing. So all of this doesn't work well for humans, but robots that were nuclear powered to make an interactive game to explore, but that would be version 1, exploring with robots. So Google, Apple, Amazon, if they all came together to build robots that would go to the ice caps, there would be rules set, programmed into the robot, what it could and couldn't do, what was deemed as environmentally dangerous to the area. But if it was exploring, learning, studying, the information that comes back can be put into textbooks for kids to learn. It prepares you for space. If it works here, it'll work anywhere. Now, robots can build, and people can use robots to build, meaning game. And for someone to sit down and play a game, so first off it will be explore. Second version, 2.0, is to take some structures to start building. Now the structures start building at the front of the ice wall, And the supplies keep coming and the robots come back to pick them up whilst people are playing the game. And then they start to build habitats along the way. Even if you had some type of mechanisms like they use in ski slopes to grab the supplies and bring them over, the robots build these. Now things become brittle, so there will need to be some understanding. Alloy works kind of well in cold conditions. I believe it's alloy. There are a few other things as well. Titanium is incredibly strong, but I have noticed that certain types of steel becomes extremely brittle in colder temperatures. So again, it then teaches more education as to if we can build something that can cope with the cold temperatures, then it would be great for Europa. Europa is going to be a lot lower in temperature than anything you find on the Earth, and a little bit of learning goes a long way to prepare you for it. And what's more, people may want to pay to play this game, which therefore starts putting money into without taxating. It also creates jobs. It creates learning. And it also creates development. Devel. That's all I'm going to put that in, because if not, I don't think it will fit. All from this, it creates quite a lot of, you build a structure up. Now, this is only one part. That's 1,000 robots on this. Version 2.0 could be 2,000 robots. But now, with an additional update, which would be that they get resources to start building human habitation there.
Now they know how to behave there.
And while someone's playing the game, rather than building a structure on Minecraft somewhere, they do it a bit at a time. But this game is different. Where you left it, someone else continues on from where you left it. So you sign out, someone else will sign in and take over from where you left off. So it wouldn't be personalized, and it speaks unity, teamwork. Teamwork online. That's something that we don't see a lot of. We see teamwork where a group of people go in and want to do the action fighting, and they are absolutely brilliant. Anybody that does this game, whether everybody has a week with one robot and how much you can build within that week, you are doing a hell of a public service. You are moving the world, you are moving in space exploration, you are playing a game that is not a waste of time. It is incredibly beneficial to the world, it's beneficial to science, and it's beneficial to space exploration. You just don't know it yet. And you are paving the way for future generations. Now, if this begins to work out, you learn what you can do, what the limits are, what you require, the testing grounds. If everyone has a blueprint to follow with this game, it's an interactive game where you're going to get hands-on and work with the robot. That could be quite fun to build up something, a structure, that one day people may live in it. One day kids may go on school trips. One day scientists will be able to go there and study. I want to know whether you can build space observatories there. I want to know whether you can build houses, shops, and farms. The data of what will grow in that environment. Can we create the pressure? Can we remove the pressure? Can we artificially create light? Can we do it cleanly? Can we do it efficiently? Is it beneficial? What are we learning from outside? Some people are scouting, 1,000 are scouting, the other 1,000 are building structures that are there. Now, that's one particular way to do it. With this, it gives you a mission control. Now I'm going to use Google as the example on this one. It can be any, but let's just use Google for the example. Google becomes mission control. So mission control is Google. Create these, make this possible, and now you've created mission control. What did you need? What type of data did you need to be able to send it? What type of satellite did you need? How did it go? What type of programmers did you need? How many workforce did you need to be able to erect this? These individuals' data as they go and learn as they go, all of this is then trained into AI. AI is a tool. AI is not the be-all and end-all of everything, it is just a tool. If the tool is utilized in the correct way, it can learn from human behavior. The human behavior can then be put to teach, which can teach the next generation when it comes to space. The AI will learn that there will be a time dilation between sending a signal from the Earth to Europa, let's say for argument's sake, or the Moon, 2.5 seconds, 2.5 seconds back. There'll be a different type of programming, which then means that technologies need to send a signal very quick. And finding the best way to get the signal from point A to point B without needing big ears. Even if it was to Christmas tree the technology from one that sends a signal to another object that's orbiting, to another object that's orbiting, to another, that utilize, they start small and get bigger and bigger in order for the solar panel to pick up what it needs from the sun just by orbiting around. We're going to be orbiting anyway. Can it send the signal, bounce it between these and get it back quicker? Do we get more data this way as opposed to sending a signal and hoping the Earth's in the right place with the big ear to collect it? Now, this will prove quite successful. Then you're building farms. Now, we look at desert. What about we take the same concept, but we look at the desert and say, what can we build there? We see Dubai. We see Dubai coming up really well. We see parts of Israel and parts of the promised land that are being built utilizing technologies of salt waters and extracting moisture and different things like that. Can we hold moisture? Do dehumidifiers extract minimal amounts of moisture from the air in deserts? Is it possible? Probably in the morning and all the way through the night, yes. During the day, probably not. But still, can we extract that? If it's possible, can we feed farms? Can we build farms? Can we do the same process to build and expand into deserts? After all, most deserts are wasteland, too hot, too this, too that. It's incredibly endurance is needed when building anything there. But robots don't need the endurance, they just don't need to cook. Build these so that they can be protected from the heat and the cold. With the data that you learn from the cold, you reverse it. Now we want to protect from heat. Once we've got two of these, and let's say Google were to build one being Antarctica for the science, the data, and the understanding and education, and you bring children into this, they become your next pioneers. Then we start to learn it in deserts. Can we learn to stop the heat? Can the robots function at ample optimization of what they are capable of functioning at with the heat? Once we've got both of these two bits of data fed into the AI, now we need to make a third. What's the third? One that can go in the cold and the hot. Because space is going to fluctuate between extremes of heat and extremes of cooling. If on the Earth we can master both and incorporate it into one, you're now another way there. Then there's the question of solar robots. Can you get this on the moon? So I'm going to just quickly check to make sure that I've got all of that on there. That's one step. Yes, it's all there. Well, can we see it clearly enough? Well, that will do. Good. So I'm going to rub it out. And if it's nuclear powered, we're not leaving a carbon footprint. Sure, it's not going to last forever, I understand that, but something that gets nice and hot inside there, that creates its own little turbine within it. And can the robots be taught to fix themselves without jeopardizing human capability? You build it once and it's then programmed to operate and run itself and fix itself, or at very least have another robot fix one that's broken, which can be done. Now imagine doing that within a year. Within a year, people are playing it. Is it popular? How well does it expand? Especially the younger generation. These are your little pioneers. They like that sort of stuff. Very interactive. And then you've got the people that like to do on Facebook that Facebook Farms. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I've never played it. I've just watched people play it, and I can't understand for the life of me as to why they want to play that.
My mom used to play that, but
That's
grow quickly, call it grow quickly, and then you are like, you cannot do it anymore because
no. But what if it was real life? Would your mum do it? If it was exactly the same as Facebook, but it was real life. It sends you an email when your crops have harvested.
It would be probably more interesting than not just my mom would do it.
You know, for people who are busy, that would be great. Work with a machine, a robot. The robots that move around much like humans go and build the modules in the desert, Antarctica. They put in other robots that are capable of putting in the soil, cultivating, spraying the water on a timer, giving it light when there's lacking light, keeping it warm when it needs to be warm, keeping it cool when it needs to be cool. And you go to it once as a player. You type in what crop you want to grow, how much of the food you want to grow, this and this, carrots, potatoes, just to see if it works. The machine should already know for you part of the way. You sow the seeds using the robot. Think of an arcade machine, a grab machine that comes down and picks things up and drops off your loot. In this one, it's going to be more interactive hands. So could you imagine wearing a set of gloves and you have a table in front of you with a VR headset that live streams you straight into the module that you're going to be planting? There are seeds. You undo the packet, pretend to here, but it does it real life there in the visual, and you tip in the seeds. Then you discard the packet, if there's a packet, or a tube, whatever else it may be, and then you bury in the seeds. It comes up with some information of how deep that it needs to be, what it's going to need, la-di-da-di-da. Then you could pull a tube over, which is going to be a waterer, which is then going to start to lift up as the crop grows in order to get a good bit of water, or maybe it goes down lower and stays close to the roots, miss the foliage. Then you've got your next one and your next module, and it all stands up in front of you. Nice, beautiful. It's hybrid, it works with whatever light it can get, but it also has its own lights. When the robots are not doing anything, they connect into the module and put their energy that they would use on moving into the module to help grow the crops. Team effort. Now, whilst you're doing that, you have to not really weed it, but you know, X amount of time goes by and you get an email and it's time for harvest. Could you imagine if you designated a few square meters of this, and let's say a person has 100 of these? By the time they've done one particular day, and then grown another one, maybe they've had a week's lapse and they've then started another one, another week's gone by and they've done another and another. Before you know it, 6 months have gone. By that time, the first module was already up and running. The art of this game is it's slow to begin with, but then it gets more demanding as time goes on. So after 3 months, you'll want another module growing. So that when it's harvesting one, you've got to harvest another, and then once you've removed all of the leftovers from that, you then want to plant again. Harvest, plant, harvest, plant. If you don't do it, it goes on to somebody else and they maintain it as well. And it's to see how much of this you can keep going in a chain without there ever being a lapse. By the time you've planted one crop, another one needs harvesting. By the time you've harvested that, that needs planting, and another one needs harvesting. So it becomes like a constant kinda, yeah. But one that's beneficial, because the food that is made, it shouldn't go to waste, even if it is in a frozen environment anyway. If it's instantly frozen, has that got a chance to last? Now, what happens if you then move this module over to a cooking module? So, perhaps your mum's not interested in cooking, right? So we go from farming so you've got the farming modules. Just think of it as much as that I can see that dwarf Britain's farms, and these are 24/7. Not only are they producing oxygen where it counts, they're converting carbon where it counts. This planet used to be covered in evergreen, so don't ever worry that we're ever going to overdose the planet in oxygen. There's too many volcanoes to even do that, and it seems to know when the limit is there, and it produces more carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide. Anyway, so it's quite a lot. So when you've gone from the farming, there are other people that like to cook. Same difference. There's loads of modules, and once that food's harvested, it goes into a cooking pot. And people that love, perhaps they're not famous, perhaps they couldn't afford to have a restaurant somewhere, but hey, they then begin to make this food in the module. And again, it's done by VR. The difference is, once this is made, if it's in Antarctica or the desert, depends where it is, you've got to utilize the environment to cook it in any way, shape or form. Now, it sounds like quite a bit of a game, but if these bots can only explore for so much, then people are going to maneuver onto it, or people are going to find it, oh my god, I want to have a go on that. Once this food's cooked, there's a chance to store it in the area, which then begins to open up a door for people to live there, for people to go on holiday there. You've got to be a healthy being if you want to go there. It will be walking, it will be localized, it will be no rapid food type situation. Everything that must be recycled and put back into the system. From recycling to growing, from growing to cooking, anything else left over from there, if it could be shipped, people buy crabs from this area anyway, the big, ship it as well. I'm sure the trawlers might want a little bit of extra cash. Perhaps fishing isn't going too well, they're not making the catch. However, rather than overfishing all of the crabs each time, they can go and grab a load of these bulk food and bring it back. So not only will they be bringing back fish, but they'll also got to make room for some of this cargo being food. If it goes to Australia, then it goes to Australia. If it can make it from Australia to here, then it makes it from Australia to here, to America, to Russia, to EU, to China. It doesn't matter where. What matters is the food can be... Now, if someone from China, Russia, America, Britain, EU, France, Germany, all of them have a different cuisine, have a go at cooking your style of food, and it must be sent to another nation. If people appreciate it, you could get a bit of a name because you've got a knack to make a recipe. And again, if it's healthy food and it's straight off of the farming and it tastes good, we want to know about how nutrition works. So it could put out for another piece of technology, which could be a sort of vitamin, as opposed to pricking yourself to get a diabetes test. We want one that does it for a nutrition test. After eating this food, it's travelled, it's fresh, it's this, to see how well your nutrition is. And if this goes into a computer AI database, this can help NASA, this can help space exploration, this can help scientists, this can help kids understand how to healthily eat, watch the recipes, try them at home. Learn how to cook and make it at home if needs be, or you can get it from the shop, or have a go at making it yourself here. And someone else may be able to get some food. People in third world countries that may not be able to have the luxury of getting this food, we can supply the food based on a game that is more beneficial than you'll know. One, it's getting you space ready. Two, it's helping level up the planet in a very green and structured way that doesn't deplete resources, and it doesn't require much apart from the will to do it and have the audacity to even try it. grown under southern lights, grown under northern lights, grown in desert. You know, have a desert feast. I mean, this can help a lot of people, I think. You may, possibly, if it was built, you could help make food kitchens for people who are not so well off. Who are maybe on a type of benefit or retirement homes. It doesn't matter, to give them a really good quality meal. Alright, it's travelled, I get it. Yeah, we put so much emphasis on travelled foods, but I think somewhere along the lines, when we start moving towards space, I don't think we can be too picky. The hunter-gatherers were definitely not picky.
We'll be traveling in space anyway, so that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, so the good diet might help. Getting the balance right. And then, is there, it might sound really bad, but what about livestock? Am I pushing it too far?
With livestock? What do you mean with livestock?
Create a biome for livestock. It needs to be understood anyway.
No, I don't see why there should be livestock.
This will become like a virtual reality, but literally reality. Do you get that? A sort of virtual reality, but it is reality.
Yeah.
It's a real farm. You're playing a game that appears to be a game.
Virtual reality, but it's real.
It's real. It's impacting real people, and you're not wasting your time. And you should never feel guilty for playing the game.
Finally, the name makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it begins to, doesn't it?
Because it's reality.
It's mixing quantum and reality outside of your body as opposed to being inside your body. So we have a quantum mind that affects reality outside of us. We also have a reality inside our quantum, and even inside reality we have quantum. But we've just built a brand new quantum reality inside the quantum reality inside the quantum reality, and there's your trio factor. And not only that, you can do it to create such betterment, such better education, such better space preparedness, such what works, what doesn't. Can we align our robots to go before us, build up a structure? Because once you've nailed it here, and it becomes every day, then the moon becomes one step closer. Yes, its light pattern is slightly different. I understand, I appreciate that. But we can hybrid that for the X amount of days where it's receiving sunlight versus X amount of days where it's utilizing nuclear technology, which could be a clean, green way to do things. Packing it all into a power station poses risk, and the risk factor is the more you've got, the more volatile it can become, and we've seen it. It only takes an earthquake, it takes a tsunami, and it takes a human error, let's say, and a lot of us are taken back. There are mutations that we probably don't want in the bloodstream. We'd have to set up another Macmillan again if it happens again. Loads of people die from cancer. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it can be if we utilize it in small doses. Even then, small doses can be quite bad, but it's out of people's reach. If anyone wants to do anything bad with it, good luck trying to get it, because it's in ice or it's in the middle of the desert. It keeps it out of reach, and these particular areas are nothing but no man's land anyway. No one is there. If we're thinking about desert would be easier to utilize because we can use solar panels. It's not just solar panels, it depends where you are to use the solar panels. Grow a lot of food. And then there's underwater. There's underwater robotics. How deep can you get at what speed? Can you make a nuclear bot that's capable of swimming, taking colossal amounts of pressure, generating a lot of light to go and see anything underneath the ocean? Even if you were eaten by something big as a robot, it's going to swallow you. And then you get to understand through an anatomy, which this is how it should be. I think that if it's going to be eaten by something big enough to eat it, then that's science. That's data you would never know. Could you imagine that? Swallowing something that was capable of lighting up and showing a camera as it traverses through your body, through the stomach, through the acid, through the... even all the way till you pop it out. Do you know, that's some weird data that we don't know a lot about. How long... and then if you were to eat something and have one of these, eat this sort of probe first that goes into the body. We don't know a lot about the body. Eat that first and then eat a load of meal, and it is capable of lighting up so that it can see in the dark. And it can see how it processes food, and then you eat one at the end of a meal so that it can see both as the way it traverses and what gets dropped, what doesn't, how it all works. And then if you think about that in the bloodstream as well. Where does it go? Is it watching this? Can it go over there? What happens if you put light in that and it's small enough? I mean, you can learn. There's so much to learn. We just brush the surface with all this guessing of science, don't we? We guess. If it's supposed to be the times of science, exploration and all sorts, then we should be learning it. We should be learning inside, outside. Inside the mind, outside. Quantum versus reality, quantum and reality. The empty bits of space versus the full bits of space are just as interesting to explore as one another, and I think that really helps to enhance our understanding, and it starts with a game. Most games are popular, and I think that rather than pushing against that flow, I think it's best that you work with it. You know, you can sit there and protest against people playing games. You're wasting your bloody time. You're doing this. You're doing. You know, we've all had mums, maybe, and we've all had dads, perhaps. You have had a parent, a caretaker that has whinged at us that, you know, rot your brain doing that shit. And it's a lot of pressure, but it doesn't stop nothing. Whereas if society is already taught to do it naturally, then align to it. You just adjust. You don't want resistance. You think, how can I make this work for society? For all of us. This is one concept among many. You've got ocean, ice, desert. May not be able to get there because it's too exhausting to build all of this stuff, but these bots, man, once programmed, they know what they're doing. And if the game phases out, all of that input where people have played the game, they've taught the robots, the AI, how to build something. They'll never forget it. They'll remember it. And what's more, they'll utilize that information they've been taught in a more robust way to create something and go on to create what humans created. Robots are good. Human minds are important to put into robotics, to teach the robots how to become better at being robots, and then the robots teach us how to become better at being humans. We sort of add the two together, one and one, and then we get two. And this can be a real beautiful thing, and it's no longer wasting time. It becomes time well spent, money well spent, investment well spent. When it gets to the moon and stuff like that, that's when it becomes much more beautiful. You know, we could already start to adapt schools over to this. You're going to need programmers, people to program the bots, people to get creative with understanding what the bots need to do, whereas the programmers will then teach the bots how to utilize what they need to do. Then you've got the people who engineer it, who want to make it, that are a bit more hands-on, not interested in either of those, but they're interested in their craft of crafting metal, crafting cogs, crafting shock absorbers and whatever it may be, fluids, and that's their place. And they find it naturally. But at any moment they could become the programmer, they could become the creator of this stuff, they could swap at any moment. And at the end of it they get to operate it too, so does anybody else. And they're not just working for me I, the me, the you, the anybody. We're not working for ourselves. We are working for ourselves. We are working for each other, and we are also working for the future, ensuring that they get better times than we went through, because that's what it's about. We can't stay stuck, and we most certainly must never go back to the past. That's a failure. If that time has gone, we've got to stop behaving like the past, and we have to all evolve together towards a better outcome. And it's going to take all of us to get that way. You know, when building this, solar plows that go on the moon and just plow the moon, churn up, cultivate, rotivate. If it's sunny for 12 days, then so be it. Uninterrupted. One's ploughing, another one is rotivating. One nation sends something else to, bulldoze the stuff out the way. Not bulldoze it and make a small hole. Small holes don't work. But in order to bulldoze it, and it gradually we make our own craters. And the stuff that gets pushed up from the bottom will be pushed up over the top. This stuff then gets mined, grabbed, and put in a sorter. Just like the old times of looking for gold in lakes, sifting through it all. Finding out what the content is there. Is there a big boulder that becomes a meteorite past time? Is there new elements? Can we do anything with these elements? Can we sort these elements? Can we collect these elements? Whatever we take off the moon, of caution, the weight must remain the same of the moon in order to keep the stretching and squeezing going of Earth's core. We don't want to find that out later. So whatever we take off, we must remember to put back in. It's a bit like the atmosphere, that when we take liquids and we create them into gases, we can overpressurize a planet. The same way, if we take liquids out of the planet and gases out of the planet, the Earth will either plus its atmosphere, or we can minus the atmosphere. If we take gases out and nothing comes back in, we shrink the Earth. Shrink the Earth, we shrink its mass, we shrink its gravitational pull. If we shrink and take the gases out, we also shrink the pressure. This pressure instability might cause a problem, which could cause the lakes, the methane lakes, to release because there's not enough pressure to push them down to keep them where they're meant to be. And then we might end up releasing methane from the lakes under the ocean, which is a bad time. But yet, if we understood this balance, that we've got to measure what the Earth is at, then let's say if it was at 80% pressure, we know that we could take that up to 90, and we know that we could take it up to 70. So we could minus it to 70, and we could take it up to 80 in the gas. Anything below these margins or above these margins have catastrophic consequences for life on the planet. Yet, if we learn to take from the planet, so let's say we take from the planet and make it light, we must add to keep it at that same ratio, the balance. If we take liquid fuel and we evaporate it and we put it into a gas, we've just expanded the atmosphere. Now if we've done that and we go too far, we will cause the ozone layer to stretch thin. So if the ozone layer is at a level where it's very thin gas, yeah, let's say it's 10% thick at 80% pressure. If we expand the pressure by another 10%, what does that 10% skin turn into? It's not like our human skin. If I eat more, I get bigger, and my skin will stretch to cover that. The planet isn't like that. It would have to create the ozone gas to keep it at that 10%. The bigger the planet gets, 10% turns into 2%. Do you get what I mean? So the bigger it gets, it starts scaling down because it's getting bigger, so it has to spread itself even more thinner, even more thinner, even more thinner. Then you start to get holes in the ozone layer. And that comes from, if we burn fuel, I'm not saying that it's bad, not at all. Have at it. But what we ought to do on the same breath is, if we could collect carbon monoxide, just the monoxide part, then monos, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to call it that for a moment. If we can remove that particle from it, release the carbon, divide it in any way, we're still creating a gas problem. But let's say we take carbon monoxide and we start to put it into a container until we start liquidizing it, making it into a liquid. So we keep compressing the gas until it turns liquid. For every amount of fuel that was on the earth, so let's say there was 100% fuel, we've converted 100% fuel into 100% vapor, yes? Which we might as well call it atmos, short for atmosphere. We've taken a liquid and we've created it into atmosphere, so we've added an extra 100%. If we took the byproduct that was burnt off of fuel and converted that into a liquid of equal measure, we shouldn't have a problem, because you are always keeping this ratio. Yes, you've converted one gas into one liquid into a gas, but you've also taken another gas and converted it into a liquid. So as you are releasing fuel at 90%, you've just made 10% liquid from gas being carbon monoxide, and you've stored it. And when this turns into 80, you ought to have collected 20% liquid from that byproduct, and so on and so on. So as one depletes, another one needs to increase into a liquid, because if not, you've then got two lots of gas, and then when you go too much, the gases that make up, which are very thin, that make up this protective layer, will, you know, if you keep adding liquids to gas, it stretches. It's like a balloon. You can only put so much air in the balloon, and then it pops because the skin can't stretch any further. You want to think of gas as the ozone layer as a balloon. Rather than it exploding, which it won't, is that this balloon, when you keep on blowing it up, it will then start to have a massive hole in it. And the hole means that the rest of it will still stay inflated, but it now is creating a hole. Because the ozone gas now can't, there's not enough of it. You could make more ozone gas, which is temporal. But remember, when downgrading, if you've added more ozone deliberately, that will need to be reducted. And this is what we call balance. This is what the ancients were pleading with future humanity to understand, the balance. They understood it because they came from a time that if they overhunt, if they overeat, if they took all the eggs from the nest without leaving any, one, the bird will desert the nest, two, the birds might not reproduce anymore, and three, evolution might kickstart for birds to no longer leave eggs, or the eggs will turn toxic. The divine creates a very beautiful mechanism. One balance disrupted, you still got balance, but in a different way. This will trigger evolution, or this will trigger extinction. When we say we are intelligent, we should say that we are learning. We're learning from the environment. Whether you want to call it divine or not, the divine is teaching you through the constructs that is left for you to walk on. Whether here physically, quantumly, or in the is it or isn't it type of ratio, you are still being taught. That's the best way that I can explain what I'm trying to say with this. That the more it's not about not doing something, it's about doing it, looking at what is this waste gas coming out of here. Okay, carbon monoxide is a real pain in the ass. Can we grab it? Yes, we can. Or no, not right now, we haven't got a sensor that's figured it out. Okay, what else can we grab and compress back into a liquid from gas? Well, this, and this. Which one is the abundant gas? Can we do it with hydrogen? Hydrogen is a good thing to compress into a liquid if you can get it out of the atmosphere, because you've kept in the ratio. But it will have an effect. Not one that's terribly bad. Don't overdo it. So don't pick one particular gas. If this has already been released, it might not be a bad thing, and it might be a bad thing. The more atmosphere you have, you're less likely to have an ice age. If you do have an ice age, it will be severe. It will be a severe change that will create it. Ice ages, what we talk about when we say ice ages is we say thin atmosphere. During an ice age is the best time for life forms to leave the planet. The atmosphere becomes thin. The atmosphere starts collapsing down on itself. You can look at this by looking at Pluto's orbit. When it's closer to the star, it puffs up. When it's further away from the star, the atmosphere collapses back down onto the planet. And then it stays collapsed down, and then it starts coming closer to the star, meaning warming up. Then it starts to puff up its atmosphere. Then it collapses back down again. Puffs up, collapses down. If there were any life forms on there, any nature or anything at all, it would cope with that. That would definitely align with something that's interesting. It would go. If there were any life forms on there, which makes you think. Frogs, certain types of toads that can go in suspended animation, and also wasps. Certain types of wasps have antifreeze in them. You ever wonder where this stuff comes from? It shows you the potential that an environment, much like Pluto, is highly sustainable for life forms because of this collapsing atmosphere and this expanding atmosphere, collapsing atmosphere, expanding atmosphere. So there are life forms that can cope with that, and then there are pressure changes. So atmosphere collapsing would be like humans taking all of the gases and turning them into liquids. That wouldn't be very good. Expanding atmosphere would be like humans turning all liquids into gases. You create a Jupiter. Especially with a moon. You've got a lot there with the moon. The moon is essential to keeping your atmospheric gases in check. If it didn't cause it to rotate the way it does, which pulls it, it's minimal, but still that minimal is enough. You know, have you ever noticed it that when steam starts to go up, if you stop it, it will stay down level. It almost wants to try. It's probably a worse way to do it. Smoke. You can make smoke so that it stays going around the room at lower levels than it does at the top. If you think about the moon, if you didn't have it, your gases would leach from the planet. But because the moon is subtly influencing, and we say that the moon influences tides. Interesting. Atmosphere is a looser version of your tide. Atmosphere is wet. It is a looser form of water. Water is compressed atmosphere. Compressed atmosphere further is like snow, ice. When it collapses down further, that's basically it. It's warm. Water creates steam, different gases, they don't have to create steam, then are responsible for the atmosphere. The moon that keeps whipping round just before it gets a chance to leave, which you see it wisping, when the moon is constantly rotating, it pulls it. It's not just falling that keeps you going, as in, I don't know who the one that coined that phrase, was it Isaac Newton? If you fired a cannon, it would keep on going and it would fall around the... That is true for atmosphere, with the moon, to help with that. Wonderful. Anyway, I think I'm going to leave this one here because I think I covered just a little bit. It's just a smidge. Balance. Balance is everything. It's important. It's essential to be the middle of the balance, of not too far one way, not too far the other way. Be the middle, the medium is very important for survival. And there we are. I'm going to leave that there for now. I think that's been quite a nice video, to be fair. And there we are. Baboosh.